Okay, chapter 4 is about congruent triangles. We're starting 4.1 on applying triangle sum properties. All the stuff on this board is stuff that you probably already know. We wanted to make sure it makes sense to you. When you name or classify a triangle, you can do that either using the sides or the angles. You've heard these terms before, but again, we're going to look at them in terms of geometry definitions. Equilateral triangle has 3 congruent sides, which means all 3 sides have the same length. Isosceles triangle has at least 2 congruent sides. You probably knew before, using your eyes, there's 2 congruent sides. The formal definition says at least, which means 2 or 3 congruent sides is called an isosceles triangle. Scalene has no congruent sides. All 3 sides have different lengths. So that's classifying by sides. Classifying using angles. We have acute triangle because you have 3 acute angles. A right triangle has 1 right angle, and an obtuse triangle has 1 obtuse angle. So keep in mind, you can label any triangle using the sides and the angles. You should have 2 names there. Moving on to some more important information here. When you have a triangle, you have 3 vertices. This is a vertex, this is a vertex, and this is a vertex where the 2 sides meet. On a right triangle, of course, we have a right angle. The 2 sides that form that right triangle are the legs. The side that's directly across from the 90-degree angle is called the hypotenuse. This is important also. AB and BC are adjacent sides, which means they are next to each other. AB is here, AC is here. They are next to each other. They're adjacent. AC is opposite angle B. Here's angle B. AC is opposite angle B, and using those arrows might be helpful. The difference between interior and exterior angles, here's my triangle. All I did was extend these lines further beyond the triangle limits. And by extending those lines, I form interior and exterior angles. Interior angles should be fairly obvious. They're the inside of the triangle. The exterior ones are a little bit tricky. Think about when you draw a triangle, and if you extend that side, this is the exterior angle. Be careful, when you look at this, you may think that this is an exterior angle, and it is not. This is vertical with an interior angle. So these are interior angles, these are exterior angles. Now I want you to make sure you see the difference. Interior, this one is vertical with the interior, these 2 are exterior. Interior, vertical with interior, those are exterior. That's important because we're going to talk about that more today. Triangle sum theorem. The sum of the measures of the interior angles of a triangle is 180. We've already talked about this so far this year. The corollary, it says the acute angles of a right triangle are complementary. If you think about that, that should make sense. We have a triangle. Because we have a triangle, it means that all 3 angles have to add up to 180. If we already have 90 here, these 2 must also add up to 90, which means they're complementary. And remember, a corollary is kind of an add-on to a theorem. This is more details than what this theorem tells us. Let's look at an example. You're given a picture of a triangle. It asks you to classify it and then find x. Classifying it means that we're labeling it using the angles and the sides. If you look at what's given to us, I can see that all 3 of these angles are going to be different because this one's 3x, this one's 4x, and that one's 2x. So we have 3 different angle measurements. That means that all 3 sides are going to be different. The angles are different, all 3 sides are going to be different. That one is scalene. When we set up our equation, we'll find out in just a minute that all 3 angles are going to be acute, so it's an acute triangle. Named it with its sides, named it with its angles. So using the triangle sum theorem, we know that all 3 angles have to add up to 180. Using that idea, set up my equation. 3x plus 2x plus 4x equals 180. When I solved it, I found that x is 20, which means when I plug this in, this is 40 degrees, this is 60 degrees, and this one's 80 degrees. That's where I got my acute name from. Moving on, we have the exterior angle sum. This is probably the hardest part of the lesson today. It says the measure of an exterior angle is equal to the sum of the 2 non-consecutive interior angles. That's a lot to think about. Look at my picture here. First of all, this blue is an exterior angle. If you think about what I explained a few minutes ago, it's extending that outside, one of the sides of the triangle. That's the exterior angle. This angle is equal to these two angles added together. Non-consecutive, which means it's not next to it. And it's an interior angle. So it's the two angles inside the triangle that are not next to that outside angle. Add those two together and it's equal to this outside angle. As long as you can see that these two are non-consecutive interior, add those together, equal to this one. That's what this picture here says. So let's use that example, or use that theorem to figure out this problem. So we have lots going on in this picture. It says find value of x and y. I want you to see that we have an exterior angle here. Here's my triangle. And if I extend this triangle out, here's my blue angle, similar to what we just had a minute ago. This is my exterior angle. This angle is equal to the sum of these two non-consecutive interior angles. That's why I set it up this way. This is the exterior angle equals the sum of the non-consecutive interior angles. This equals those two added. And then you can see how I consolidated and solved it, and I got x equals 10. I also need to find y. Keep in mind our vertical angles. If this one is y, this angle is also y. Remember, you have that x. If this is y, this one's also y. So I use the idea of a triangle. This angle, and this angle have to add to 180. That's where this first line came from. 38 plus 7x plus 1 plus y equals 180. I already found that x is 10, so when I plugged that in and simplified everything that I could, all of these numbers add up to 109. Subtract 109 and y is 71. So like always, you want to look at what the relationship is so you can figure out what equation you can write so you can solve for your variable. Your homework